Hi boys and girls, room 14, 16, and 17. This is a science video for you, and I have a special guest star, my husband, Mr. Betts. He's a science teacher, and we are going to talk about matter. Matter comes in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. And we're going to show you some examples. Let's talk about, let's do solid first. What makes a solid, Mr. Betts?
A lot of you know, you've heard of little tiny pieces that make up everything. You can call them atoms, we'll call them just particles or pieces. But they're all arranged and they don't move. They're actually in a pattern, it makes them really strong. They don't move, okay? That's what makes a solid. The parts don't move.
So matter doesn't change shape, right?
It doesn't change shape.
This rock is always going to be,
Right.
even if it eroded, it'd still be small bits of rock.
Right.
But it's not going to turn into something else.
Right. I
Okay.
mean, and I could even break it in half, it would still be a rock. We're going to talk more about that.
Okay. Let's talk about liquid. Here's liquid in a tall glass. If I pour it into this short glass, it's still liquid. But notice it changed shape. It was tall and thin like this glass, and here it's spread out. So liquid takes the shape of its container. Is that right, Mr. Betts?
That's exactly right.
Takes the shape of its container. So that's liquid. Gas is a tricky one to film because you can't see it, but I boiled some water here and we're trying to show you the steam. And I'm sure you've seen this at your house, but this steam
That's, well, the steam, okay.
is
so,
a gas.
No, basically it's gas it's water in the form of gas that's escaping. So there's a physical change happening here. It's still water. All those bubbles that are made by the heat, basically that is water. We'll just call it, it's water vapor. We'll call it water gas.
Water vapor.
Yeah, that's escaping and going into the air, atmosphere or air. But it's still water.
Matter does change, but there's two things to look at when you're talking about change. You can have a physical change or a chemical change. So let's talk about physical change first for matter. Solid, liquid, and gas can have a physical change. What are some examples?
Well, here's one example. Well, I'll start with something that everyone can understand. Paper, everyone's familiar with paper. Now, if I go like this, let me ask you boys and girls, would you still consider this paper? Yes or no? Nod,
Yes.
Okay, it is paper still.
Still a piece of paper.
Even if I cut it up, it's still paper. So this is what we call a physical change, not a chemical change, okay? Now look at this flower here, okay? Now if I start cutting off these little buds, okay? Now this whole thing is part of the, we'll just say it's part of the plant. But if I start cutting up the plant, cut off these, has it gone through a chemical change, which we haven't talked about yet? No. But is it going through a physical change? Yeah, it is. It's still a plant. That's still a flower. And by the way, if I start cutting up the flower, it's still a flower. Okay.
It's flower pieces.
It's
Yeah.
flower pieces.
Flower pieces. What
Okay.
about this apple?
Okay. So this apple, you know it's an apple, if I were to cut a piece out of it, okay, it changes shape. I've changed the shape. So
It's still an apple.
it's still an apple. Physically, it's different. So it's gone through a physical change. Okay.
Okay, boys and girls, I want to talk about ice for a minute. Ice is unique because it goes through all three stages. Here in my hand, it's a solid. It's a cube. It's hard. It doesn't change shape. It is melting a little bit, and that would be the physical change.
Right.
It's melting into liquid.
Do you know why it's changing? I mean, why is it melting? Because of the heat, right? So it's melting and changing shape because of the heat.
The heat is creating the physical
The
change.
physical change, right?
Your hand is warm, and so it melts. Okay. Over here, boys and girls, we put some ice in a pan, and we put it over fire, and look what happened. It became liquid. Now, look at me. You could try this, but look, I want you to look right into my eyes. My daughter's zooming in on my eyeballs. Do not. She's laughing at me. Do not use the stove without your mom and dad's help. okay? But if your mom and dad help you, right here, the ice will change liquid. Now watch. If I, Mr. Betts, put this back in the ice cube tray and put that in the freezer, it becomes a solid again.
That's right.
But it's still water. Water having a physical change. Solid, liquid, and we already showed you gas. Boys and girls, look, they're already melted. I put some out in the sun. If your mom and dad aren't around and you're not allowed, they're not there to help you with the stove, you could do this. This one's easy, no harm. These ice cubes in the sun melted. You could drink this. If the water was clean when you made the ice cubes, you could drink it and it turns back to liquid. Okay, boys and girls, I have one more example, and this is something you could do at home with your mom and dad's help. A candle, any candle. I was hoping I had like a birthday candle, and if you have a birthday candle, that would even be a better example. But if we light this, what's going to happen? There's a physical change and a chemical change.
Correct.
Tell them about the chemical change.
Well, first of all, pardon me, you know what a wick is? So,
The wick in the middle,
okay,
that's the part you light.
it's like string that's in the center of all the wax. So Mrs. Betts lights the wick or the string, and some of you might know already what's happening. Is that string going to still be a string in a moment, or is it going to turn into something else or disappear? It's going to have a chemical change. It's going to turn into something else. That's what a chemical change means. It's not going to remain a string. Now, what about the wax? Okay, here we go again. So we said that there would be a physical and a chemical change. So
What's the chemical change?
chemical change is the string is turning in, it's disappearing, it's going into the air, it's turning into something else that they're learning about in upper grades.
The string is called the wick. We'll learn some vocabulary here too. So the wick is burning up. It'll never be a wick again. It goes away. But the melted wax, we're not going to have enough time on camera, but as this fire melts the wax, I literally could
Sure you could, yeah.
pour it into another little container, and if I had a wick, put the wick in the middle and I'd have another candle. The wax, that's a physical change.
It's still,
It's solid.
Here's the key. The wax, when it melts and changes shape, is it still wax? Well, yeah, it is. So it goes to a physical change, not a chemical change.
Went from solid to liquid.
Right, I went to solid to liquid, and even if I pour a little bit out right here, we get a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit, and a lot of you are familiar. So it went from a solid to a liquid, and as it cools, it goes back to a solid again. But it's still wax. It's still wax, so it's just a physical change. So let's make sure you understand what a chemical change is. So what happens to the wick? Well, you can say it's disappearing or it's changing into something else. That's what a chemical change is. It changes into something else and it never is the same again. So watch. If I blow this out, see that smoke? That's what the wick was. It became, that smoke is what the wick turned into.
Gas.
Gas.
From solid to a gas.
Yes.
So we've shown you many examples of physical changes. And this is one, you could get some ice cubes and put them in your yard. You could put them on the stove with your parents' help. And this is one you could do yourself. So we have a piece of bread, a plain piece of bread, and we're gonna change it. We're gonna do a chemical change. So if I put this in the toaster and give it a good toast, and through the magic of video, we have altered the toast.
Well, okay, let me back up. So if I go like this, it's a physical change, just to review. So we haven't changed it. But what happened, boys and girls, when it was inside the toaster? And if we left it in longer, what would continue to happen? Well, it turns into something else.
What would happen if we kept toasting that and burning it and had it over fire?
Well, that's still bread, but what about this black stuff? That's A lot of you know that is ash. And if we keep doing it, and some of you have seen what has happened before, if you keep heat on it,
It wouldn't even look like a piece of bread.
it wouldn't even resemble bread. It wouldn't look like bread. It wouldn't resemble bread.
Chemical change.
Another example of physical change. A lot of you know what aluminum foil looks like. I'm sure of it. Now, what if I do this? What if I crumple it up like a piece of paper? Now, let me ask you, is that a physical or a chemical change? Is it still foil? Is it still aluminum foil? Well, yeah. So it's a physical change. Did it turn into something else? No. So it's not a chemical change. It's just a physical change. It's still aluminum foil. Okay, one more example of chemical change that all of you have noticed. Watch. You look down here, some of these nails, look at these. I don't see any rust on there. They look nice and clean, a lot of these. But look at these. A lot of you know what rust looks like, and you know what happens to metal. A lot of metals, not all metal, but some metal. It basically, well, you can see all of them. Basically, that metal turns to rust. That's a chemical change. It will never be the same again. It will not be the same kind of metal. It can't go backwards. That's a good example of a chemical change.
Boys and girls, that was your lesson on solid, liquid, and gas. I hope you can have some fun at home. Notice the liquids when you pour your orange juice in the morning or your milk in your cereal. That's a liquid. When you eat an apple, you change it physically when you chop it up. But maybe you can play with ice cubes, put some out in the sun, and when you toast a piece of bread, look at the chemical change. Thank you for being with us. My science teacher husband, Mr. Betts.
It was my pleasure. Just remember, you can identify the difference between a physical and a chemical change if you look closely at your world around you.